Hi, this is Chris Harris, and you are watching the Letterman Podcast.
It's the Letterman Podcast. It's better than all those podcasts about those other men. Let the fun begin.
Welcome once again to the Letterman Podcast. My name is Mike Chisholm. All right, we're getting back on the horse. More episodes are starting to come out now, and I just want to say thank you to everybody for your patience as I'm going through all the things that I'm going through, the craziness of life, and as we try and get our families trying to get things back in order and firing on all cylinders. And there's so much good stuff happening in the world of Letterman. You know, he's going on tour again. By the time this airs here, I'll have probably seen him in Vancouver. He's going to be part of the Netflix is a Joke festival down in LA, interviewing Martin Short, interviewing John Mulaney in front of an audience. That's fantastic. More of my next guests on the way. Just lots of good stuff going on. It's a good time to be a Letterman fan with all the stuff that's going on out there. It's nice to think back to when late night was a little bit different. Certainly far less serious and more entertaining, and that's the sweet spot of the productions of David Letterman and company. Now, hey, for those who like people who worked for the original, the OG, the late night guys, we got one. Steve Singer was the audio guy for the audio mixer. He was in the booth, the guy in the booth from 86 all the way until they left in 93. He says himself of his multi-decade career with NBC, working in 30 Rock, the Mecca, which he loved and was grateful for every minute of it. The funnest time that he had in his career was working for Late Night with David Letterman. Steve's a great guy. It's just fun to get to know him, ask him about the job and what his experience was like. The Letterman Podcast has one sponsor only, and that is hello-deli.com. Go to hello-deli.com. One of your only sources for official Late Show with David Letterman merchandise. They got mugs. They got the old shirts. I think he's still got Rupert shirts. Rupert is still running hello-deli.com. Head on over there for some Letterman merch. You can also go, of course, to the official Worldwide Pants store and get Barbergain shirts and one like the one I'm wearing right now. But you're not here to listen to me blather on. You are here to celebrate the greatest body of broadcast work in history, that of David Letterman and company. Please enjoy my conversation with audio guy Steve Singer. Steve, I can't thank you enough for coming on here to talk about the career that you have had. You just retired not that long ago. How long ago did you retire?
I was at NBC for 45 years as an audio engineer.
You were at NBC for 45 years, and you cut out just for a second there. When did you actually retire?
The end of 2024, the last couple of days of 2024.
The ridiculously obvious question to start with is or observation even is, my word, the changes that you have seen in broadcasting during your tenure in that career. Okay, so the changes you have seen, where did you start and how did you start in broadcasting?
Well, before I was at NBC, I worked in radio at a couple of radio stations around Long Island, which is where I live.
Yeah.
And back in 1980, when the network was planning to send their employees overseas to Moscow to cover the 1980 Olympics, they hired a large number of temporary employees. And I was one of those employees. As it turns out, if you'll remember, the U.S. boycotted the Olympics, and it turned out to be a bust. But I was lucky enough that I managed to stay with them for all those years.
The optics the optics of what you just said is very, very interesting to me. The Soviet Union is hosting the Olympics, so we're going to hire a whole bunch of people. It sounds like they're hiring a bunch of expendable people to send over to the Soviet Union.
Well, no, what it was is they sent over the established staff people, creating a lot of vacancies in New York for the temporary employees. Locally,
gotcha. You had to hold down the fort.
Employees. That's what I was. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. I had very, very little experience, and honestly, I don't know how they came up with hiring me, but they did.
Okay, so here we go. Some experience in radio and suddenly you're going to the Mecca, you're going to 30 Rock, you're going
I
to the
know.
RCA building. Like I assume that wasn't lost on you, even if it was going to be a temporary thing.
It was a temporary thing, and I managed to learn a lot by meeting a lot of the older, more experienced people and relied on them to show me the ropes, and I really developed an interest in it.
What was the major difference between what you had learned up to that point in broadcasting and then moving into the big time television at that point? What
Mm,
was the biggest learning curve for you?
My broadcasting was almost non-existent. I mean, a couple of small radio stations in the area, but like you said, this was the big time. This was being at 30 Rock, and I get to, walk around the building and seeing these studios that I was familiar.
So 1980, 30 Rock, lots of transition happening in the United States. You get this job. Where did you end up? What shows in 1980 when you were learning the ropes of this thing? Were you a jack of
Every
all trades from show to show
Yes, I
to show?
was.
Or
Every
yeah.
every day was something different. I started as being the audio department, but being an audio assistant, setting up microphones and doing things on the floor, which again I learned on the fly and learned from the guys who were there before me that were nice enough to show me the ropes.
And at that time in 1980, I mean, you got guys who worked on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show when he
There
was
were
there. Jack
guys that were
Parr.
there were guys that were around for the Kennedy assassination. They would sometimes talk about it, as well as Jack Parr and Johnny
Yeah.
Carson. Sure.
Wow. And news, I assume news was a big one for you.
Mostly news
Yep.
because most of the events, the broadcast from 30 Rock were news. There
Yeah.
were a handful of entertainment shows, but primarily news. So that's
Do you
where
ever
my
work on?
background started in news
That
broadcasting.
makes sense. It makes sense. And ever work on SNL at all?
Only in an ancillary position. If they
Yeah.
needed a hand for one special uh, segment or something, very rarely. They were pretty much self-contained. They hired their own people and they had their own list. So very, very rarely.
What was the buzz like around 30 Rock at that point? And I mean, just with the perspective of all these years now in between, you go back and you think, what were the things that people were excited about, talking about? What was the vibe like there? I mean, New York was a very, very different city in 1980 than it is now. Just surviving. You think about Frank's song, "If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere." That was a very unique time in New York with that overlay of phrasing. Like, was it difficult for you to make it in New York, or is it something where always a New Yorker and just you just
Well,
rolled with the punches?
I
Oh, it cut out again.
I was certainly familiar with 30 Rock. We used to sneak into the building when I was in college.
Yep.
Security was different to non-existent back then. You'd wave to the guy and he'd let you in. But I was in the building many times before I started working there.
Yeah. You fell in love with it, obviously.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I really did. I knew that I wanted to do something in this business. I didn't necessarily know what. Had the road gone one way, I would have done something else, or if it went the other way, I would have done something else. But I knew, like back in high school, that I wanted to do something in this business, be a part of it somehow.
Oh, that's
And the fact
fantastic.
that it was technical and audio, the road just happened to lead that way. But
Um,
as far as an industry, I knew that I wanted to do something in that from way
I
back.
gotcha. I feel you. So as you're, I just, I've got a little, some notes here. Your first credit on the show was April 8th, 86. That was your first credit on the late night, that we could find, program. So between when you started there and you worked at late night, was it an interesting transition to get you to late night, or was, because obviously Letterman was going since 82, and so there must have been a tremendous amount of buzz in the building about this show that has just started to get all this steam and take off.
I was working across the hall in 6B. I was mixing live at 5,
No kidding.
which at the time it was the biggest show, right? It was a huge
So
show at the time.
so you got bothered by late night as the next door neighbor. They would prank live at 5 all the time, and you
Well,
were you were one of the people, the recipients of those pranks.
Yeah, what would happen is my audio booth door overlooked the hallway in 6A, and I would keep the door open and I'd be mixing like this,
Uh-huh.
like looking out the hall to see, the animals and the clowns and all the hoopla that was out in the hall. And I said, "Gee, that looks great." So
Um,
I did that for a while.
were you ever in the booth when they would come and interrupt the show and prank the show?
I was doing Live at 5 the day Dave came across the hall and interrupted Al Roker doing the weather. That was preset because we had to set up some stuff for it. But yes, I was there. I did that one. Yeah.
I appreciate you talking about it being preset because there were so many moments on late night where the thing that I loved about late night so much is that they would blur the lines as to is this real or is this not real? And I think a great example of that is certainly when they would go over and start messing with you guys at Live at 5. It looked so spontaneous. And each spot you guys would do, the audience was thinking this is spur of the moment and random. But mostly it was predetermined and it was something where you guys had a heads up on, wasn't it?
Well, that one technically we had to plan it because I needed a copy of Al's microphone and they needed a copy of and I needed a copy of Dave's mic. So we needed to so we would hear both sides of the conversation. So that was planned. Um, I remember once, I guess he would send the camera into the 6B green room, the Joan Collins. I mean, I remember a lot of these episodes. I don't remember everyone, but I remember a
Yeah.
lot. He sent the camera to the green room where Joan Collins was. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that, but I do remember that. That was spur of the moment.
There's one memory. So I'm broadcasting from Canada, and a lot of NHLers end up, folks who played for the National Hockey League end up retiring in the area that I live in. One of the guys is named legendary New York Islander by the name of Bob Bourne, and Bob Bourne came on my other podcast that I host. It's a men's mental wellness podcast, and he told a story about how after they'd won, I don't know what it was. It was maybe their third Stanley Cup, something like that. Bob Bourne brought the Stanley Cup with maybe Mike Bossy or one of them to Live at 5. And Dave had his people come in and steal the Stanley Cup from the Live at 5 audience and put it on his desk. And those are the antics. Like that to me encapsulates perfectly the antics of what Dave brought to the table. Did it Was there like a noticeable jump in the crew and all the people that you worked with once Letterman started firing on all cylinders and started doing that stuff? I mean, it must have made work terribly fun and certainly not ordinary.
A lot of what he did when he took off and did these things were a result of planned events not working. Like a prop not working, or I remember one time he went to make a phone call. They used a phone call on the air a lot.
Yep.
The equipment at the time was not the most reliable, so it didn't sound the greatest. So he
Right.
went to pick up the phone to place a call, and the guy, I can't hear you, or it went into feedback, or it just didn't work.
Yep.
So he got up nonchalantly, went to the backstage, took out a fire axe, and just chopped up the telephone. And I mean, you can't write that. It just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I remember, similar things happening where props just didn't work the way they worked in rehearsal. And again, he would take off and he would build upon that. I don't know if he liked doing that because he felt they were relying on him to do all the work.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, and I
here
mean,
you have this bit planned and rehearsed, and it doesn't work. And now what does he do? He's got to finish it.
that's right.
So you,
And
you do that
now,
once or twice, it's funny, but he can't be expected to do that every single time.
well, and it's interesting because all these years later, what is the thing that Dave is maybe most known for? And it's his reaction time. It's his wit, thinking on his feet, the spur of the moment stuff that comes out.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a little bit like dance monkey. Like we're gonna rely on that. Well, okay. But especially at that stage, at the very beginning of the production, you don't know that you necessarily have, the quickest draw in the West all the time when it comes to that stuff. And then the technical problems, they come up
Right.
and they
Right.
create their own, kind of issue here. So
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, technically speaking, back in the 80s, mid 80s, things were not as polished and slick as and reliable as they were in the latter part of the years. I mean, you could never get by with that towards the end of the show at the CBS show, right? They
Oh
they had a
yeah.
higher level and a higher expectation um, than they did back in the early days. In the early days, it was just a little, low budget, cheap talk show with a lot of obscure guests, and it kind
Yep.
of grew from there.
Absolutely. And a little bit of the inmates running the asylum kind of a vibe
That's
to it,
that's
right?
what it was.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it was last week that was Hal Gurney's birthday,
Yeah, he was 101 years
and
old.
I was telling somebody that I owe my career indirectly to Hal Gurney because when I started mixing the show back in 1988, I didn't have a strong background mixing a show like that.
Hmm.
And it was a little rough. It was a little rough in my area. And it got back to me by more than one person that Hal would have meetings with the show and the company saying, well, what do we do? Should we replace him, and get somebody else? And it was Hal that said, no, no, let's give him a little time to get settled and get comfortable in there. And I did settle and got comfortable, but it got back to me that Hal supported me in that area. So I'll always be grateful to him for that.
A legend literally had your back.
That's
And
like I said, it got back to me by more than one person.
oh man,
So
like
I will
and
always be grateful for Hal and indirectly credit him for the long career that I have even after the show left. It was 32 years after the show left that I continued and did many, many other shows.
oh Steve, that's
So
just so
Hal,
beautiful.
thank you very much.
That's such a beautiful sentiment, and a thank you to Hal for everything because he was a legend at that time. I mean, he's one of those guys. That's one of the guys that worked for Par. That one of those guys that was around long before you showed up there, and the fact that you
Before
could
I
show
was
up,
born, yeah.
yeah, like that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
Hal was a
Um,
pleasure to work with. He was just
just
he was just so even keel and
yep,
and and quiet and funny.
yep.
Um, just a pleasure.
Oh, that's I love hearing that. Who were some of your other foxhole buddies at that time? Like at the time that if you came over in 86 or whatever it was, April of 86, I think it said it was. Who were some of the foxhole buddies that were there with you that you worked with in the trenches?
You'll remember Bob Rooney. Bob Rooney
Hmm.
was a star, an on-camera star. I don't know how they determined that, but he got to be a regular day player on that show many times. I worked with him for
Um,
years.
yeah, yeah. Because when you're there, are you alone in the booth?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just you. And what are you responsible for as late night is going on? What are you responsible for as that's happening?
I was the production mixer. I was
Okay.
responsible for the audio and the sound, the overall sound of the show. We did have somebody in a music room, Mike DeLug at the time, would mix the music,
Yeah.
and he would send it to me, and I would integrate the music with the production mics and the audience and any video tape playbacks and some sound effects playbacks that we had in another room, and I would incorporate all those elements together and mix the show. So my
Real time.
title was broadcast mixer, I guess you'd call it.
Yep. And this is all real time. It's not all in post. This is like a lot of this is real time.
Zero post.
There you go. Okay,
I
so that
mean,
just
I don't think there were Pro Tools back then. They might have been. They had multi-track recording. We never multi-tracked the show.
yep.
So what we did at 5:30 is forever and ever, good or bad. Some of them were not that good, but
Let's talk
that's
about
it.
some of the things that were there ever any times where something fell to you or on you or you were blamed for that made it onto camera that affected the show?
Oh yeah. Uh, yeah, there would be audio mistakes. I can't think of anything specific, but a speaker not working. This guy is across the studio or across town, and he couldn't hear him. There was a problem. Oh yeah, this. So that was my fault. That happened once in a while, but once I got comfortable, they happened less and less.
Yeah, well, but
And
at the
and it
same
always got a big laugh because if something went wrong, there was Dave to pick up the slack and make it funny.
Well, and Robert Morton and I were talking about this again the other day. Just the idea of the tone of the show celebrating failure. You almost wanted something to go wrong, because of that. But the beautiful part about it is you can't. It has to be real. You can't pretend that something went wrong or whatever, unless it's part of an out there bit. It's when things actually went wrong. That's when things it was organic, and that made it that much more entertaining.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
fun for you while you're sitting in your booth, though.
yeah. When it's you, it's not funny. When it happens to the other guy, it's funny. But when it happens to you, it's not necessarily funny. But the mistakes happen less and less as I got more experienced and the technology improved.
Yeah.
The wireless microphones, they redesigned them and they're fine. Everybody uses them without a second thought. Back then
Yeah.
they were so-so.
Um, you would be there when they were like during rehearsal. If they were going to use the telephone, like you talked about before, that was you. You were a huge part of that process, right?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that Rick used to talk to me, or Shecky told me about, and I mean, I think he even apparently he found a tape of them. Many times, Dave, when he would be testing the phone system for a segment, okay, you know what I'm
I
talking about
have
here?
them. I have
You
them.
have them.
I have three CDs that someone made, or maybe two CDs that someone made of all Dave's test phone calls, which
All
would
right.
be the
Well,
equivalent, which would be the equivalent of a teenager making phony phone calls in the day, but much, much funnier.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Rick has told me, and I mean, some of them have made their way. I don't know. Some of them have made their way to the public, and it's hilarious. It's the funniest thing you'd ever think of. It's Dave calling book publishers and or different businesses and whatnot, and bothering them. Dave purely being Dave, not even for anybody's entertainment except for the very small few people like yourself that are testing the equipment. You have three CDs of it. You and I will have a conversation when the record light goes off. That is unbelievable that you have that. That is a time capsule, and also just a brilliant piece of comedy history that you have.
He once
So
called
you were
up
the guy
a
that would help him
local
test the phone and
he
listen to
once
him.
called up a local police department and told him his car was in the shop. Can I borrow one of your patrol cars to run some errands? Now, if I did it, it wouldn't be funny, but I don't know. His was funny. So
It's like and this is out there in the universe. When Tom Snyder hosted his radio show, Dave many times driving home would call in and prank Tom Snyder's radio show. He would do the same thing, and just Dave's penchant for mischief is just it's one of the things that we love so much about it and the tone of the show. It was a very mischievous show. Was that frustrating for you, or was it easy for you to kind of get a little less tight knit and enjoy the ride when it comes to this stuff?
I did.
Yeah.
And once I got comfortable doing my job, it was a scream. It
Oh,
was,
that's
I mean,
fantastic.
I remember some of the Larry Bud episodes that, man, I couldn't see straight. I was laughing so hard. Um, and I tell people this if they care to know, but of my 45 years working, those 8 years were without a doubt the highlight of my time there on that
Oh,
show.
that's and it's
Had the
cool.
show not left, I think I would have stayed, for forever or who knows, but
I wanted to,
loved it.
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that because, like, a bunch of the crew either had the opportunity and took it, had the opportunity, didn't take it, or didn't quite get the opportunity to move over to CBS. And there's a lot of people that were put into terrible, decisions, whether or not because they wanted to so badly, but it was an unproven thing, seniority where they were, all of the stuff that, and again, 30 Rock is, they didn't just work necessarily on late night. They might be working on other stuff as well. And just the way of it. Were you ever, um, were you ever tempted to say, no, you know what? When the circus leaves, I want to go with the circus.
I sure was.
Yeah.
But like you said, I needed stability in my life.
Yep.
It's taking a chance. I had, I guess, 14 years there. I was settled into the place. You're going
Yep.
to an unknown place.
Yep.
Uh, I, I, I was just afraid, honestly, afraid to take the chance.
Yeah.
I went over to the theater a couple of times to visit some friends, so that was nice. But I think I made the right choice. I mean, I was there for the 8 years, loved it, and
Yep.
I went off to do many, many other projects that I'm happy with. So as it turns out, it worked out fine for me. And I know
Yeah.
some people that did go, and I've lost touch to most of them, so I don't really know how things worked out. I assume fine, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it would be such a difficult thing, especially if you are, somebody who loves broadcasting, like leaving 30 Rock itself. 30 Rock, like I'm a big hockey fan. We talk about home ice advantage. When the home team gets their fans and all that. 30 Rock might be the greatest home ice advantage that there is in broadcasting.
Well, the Ed Sullivan Theater is fine too. I mean, it's a nice place. For me, I just couldn't afford to take the chance.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel
Yeah.
you.
And
Um,
things changed a little bit too. They got more serious when they went over to CBS, from what I hear.
Oh, they elevated. They had to, like you say.
Right.
It wasn't the inmates running the asylum anymore. It was the inmates now inherit the Tonight Show, the biggest show on TV. We got to all step up, and then they had to change the tone of the show to the point where, like, there's going to be a lot of people who only who tune into this episode in particular because it focuses on the late night years. Like there's a huge contingent of enthusiasts who love late night exclusively. That was that once late night left 30 Rock, so too did a portion of the audience. There's going to be a lot of people who are excited that you're here and we're talking about the late night days because it was such a magical time, because it wasn't elevated to that place you were talking about. It wasn't as forward facing, it wasn't as serious when
That's
it came
right.
to things. um, so okay, so you've given a good did you just do that? Were you just in the booth the whole time, or did you move into any other departments for late night?
I started as an audio assist on the floor
Yeah.
because one of the guys retired. I did
Yep.
that for a year and a half to 2 years, and
Yep.
then they needed to change the mixer on the show, so they had me do it. They pretty much said, "You're going to do it." I said, "Well, I don't really have a background doing this type of show." And they said,
Yep.
"Well, you better learn because you're going to be doing it." So they threw me into that position. And like I said before, I was a little bit uncomfortable and hesitant because I had never done a show like that.
Yep.
And you had to be ready for anything at any time
Yep.
because he could do anything. Um, but once things settled down and I got comfortable, it was pleasure. I mean, I used to get to work early. How many people get to work early? Can't wait to get to work to see what was going to be happening for that day. I loved it.
Was the rehearsal even more entertaining than the actual show?
Yeah. They ran, I don't have it, and I don't know if it exists, but a lot of times they ran a tape in the back of the rehearsals.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
where they are, or even if they exist, but at one time I know that every day they used to record the rehearsals and get a big laugh out of it.
Um, oh man, I can even imagine. So like the first year and a half, like being on the floor, seeing some of the things that you'd see. Where was your position while the show was being recorded?
Uh,
Where were you
just
standing on the floor?
just out of camera range, just literally on the floor, but out of camera range.
So like in between Dave and the Blue Doors, or like around the Blue Doors, or
It could be either there or more often, I think, was on the other side of the studio by Paul's piano.
okay,
I
all right.
think
So and if things were going tickety boo, you're kind of on autopilot. You're able to watch what's going on
if
there.
things are going well, I shouldn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
They didn't use
that's right.
wireless mics in the very beginning. They insisted on a boom,
Yep.
which was one job less for the audio assist because he didn't have to mic guests. They only had a handful of wireless mics, but they insisted on using the boom for guests.
Okay. Here's
Um,
where I want to start mining your memory banks. So the times where you're on the floor and you're literally, you know, 10 feet away from what now is considered, some of the greatest broadcasting material ever. What are some of the memories that you have of things that you saw while you're on the floor?
Oh, Sonny and Cher.
Oh my
The
gosh,
Sonny
there
and
you
Cher
go.
show.
That's a great
Sonny
opener
and
right there,
Cher
man.
show. Yes, I was right next to the band, Paul. And I remember that. Sonny was as nice as could be. He came around
Uh-huh.
to everybody on the floor, introduced himself. And at the end of the show, at the end of the day, he went around to every person and said, "Thank you very much." I thought that was pretty nice.
That's the moving in those are the deeds of somebody who wants to be in politics or is in politics, that's for sure.
I
The
guess so,
glad
yeah.
hand. And you almost want Cher to be a little bit untouchable, don't you? You
Yeah,
almost want her to be.
she did not have the same reaction that he did. But I thought that was very, very nice. He went literally to every person on the floor, not knowing who they were or what they do. He would go up and say, introduce himself and say thank you at the end of the day. I thought that was very, very nice.
That's an amazing moment right there. That's very, very cool. What else back then that's a phenomenal one to lead out on. There's no question. That's a historic moment when it comes to entertainment. Seeing that.
Um,
What are some other things that you
I
remember?
don't, gee, I don't know. I remember the monkey cam. Do you remember the monkey cam
Of course.
with
Yeah, I
Sandra
remember the monkey
Bernhardt?
cam.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I think the monkey didn't do what he was supposed to do, and he did some things that had to be cut out because
Yep.
he was not obedient. I remember that. I remember being on the floor. I remember, was it Kamar the magician? You know all the
Yeah.
episodes. Kamar.
Yep.
And Dave
The
would make
discount
fun of
music.
him a
Yep.
lot. And I remember being on the floor with his props, and
Yep.
I thought that was funny. I like the Jack Hanna and his animals.
Hmm.
That was a scream. Again, it was Dave. It was Dave doing his counterpart to the animal segment, but that was a scream.
So what I'm hearing is it sounds like when things out of the ordinary like that would happen, stupid human tricks, stupid pet tricks, these segments that included extra extra people out of the ordinary stuff. It sounds like those are the days that you really enjoyed when you're on the floor because they mixed
Yeah,
up the
right. Because you're
mixed
right
things up a
there.
little bit.
You're right there. As long as the camera doesn't see you, which you're not supposed to,
Yeah.
it was great. It was great. It was
Um,
like I said, it is really the highlight of my professional career. It was so
yeah.
enjoyable. People were so nice. I know you a lot of them. You know a lot of them. You do a lot of interviews with them.
Yeah.
They were all just the nicest bunch of people.
I haven't gotten everybody. So anybody who's part of that crew that wants to come on here and have a conversation with you or is willing to, not wants to, hell, almost no one wants to come on the show. Anybody who'd be willing to have a conversation with me about this, I would love to. At this point here, we're getting into the times when anniversary specials were happening, prime time specials were happening. You get to the point where A&E is broadcasting reruns and Rick before his passing, Rick told me a lot about that. Were you part of mixing those special projects and things like that as well?
Yes, that's another highlight of my years. I did the 10th anniversary special at Radio City
Wow.
and the 8th anniversary special at the LA Amphitheater. There was no ninth anniversary special. For some
Right.
reason, they just didn't do it.
Yep.
I did the 10th, the 8th, I guess the 7th, the 6th, 5th. What year would the 5th be? I don't recall that.
That's
Um,
87 probably is year 5. I'll get corrected.
87. I think
It would
that
have been
might have
close to
been in
that. Yeah.
8H. There was one of them was done in 8H. I don't remember. I can't remember which one. But the two highlights were Radio City,
Yep.
because here you're mixing, to me, mixing a crowd of over 5,000 people and a huge all-star band.
Yep.
That was great. And
Is that
very
the one with Bob
similar to
Dylan?
the yes.
Yeah. Oh
Yes.
man.
Yes.
We're not in
Uh,
Kansas anymore. Like that's big time show business stuff right there. That's
yeah.
huge.
Again, Mike DeLug mixed all the music from the trailer next to ours, but yes, he had Bob Dylan. Um, I
Warren
can't
Zevon was
remember.
there. Oh no, no, no. It was an all stars. Who's who. And okay, so you would mix that stuff as well. So you're a part of it. Like I mean, you had to learn kind of the dialect of the show and all of that.
Those shows were multi-tracked and remixed. They did send them out of house.
Okay.
because they wanted those are primetime shows. They had to be absolutely perfect.
Right.
Um, so they sent them out of house. They multi-tracked everything.
Yep.
They remixed it, and it
Yep.
aired in prime time because the stakes and obviously the stakes in prime time are very high.
Yeah.
Not that there
Yeah.
was anything wrong with the mix. I think it was fine, but that's what you do. You make it perfect.
It's that
That's
extra
fine.
level of polish. Yeah, no,
That's fine.
absolutely. But what about like when
But
the
it
show
was
would go to Chicago and places like that? Did you go on
I
the road with
did
them?
yes, we did Chicago in 89, I think it
Yep.
was. Yeah, my son was 1 year old. So yes, so we did a week at the Chicago Theater.
I think about those shows and whenever late night would go on the road or they would do something a little extraordinary, and the audiences always had a different feel to them. Now, obviously, it's a different size, different room. It's a theater rather than a studio. All of that sort of stuff. But I felt like when it came to the audio, I noticed there was a measurable difference between the audio of the studio audience and when you went to Chicago, like it felt like a party. It felt like
Well,
it was way more ruckus. And is that something that you guys focus on? It's like, okay, we're in a different place here. We want the audio presentation to come across differently to show people that not just with their eyes, but also with their ears.
oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, the
Yep.
6A audience was only 200 people about.
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know what the Chicago Theater is. It's a few thousand. It's pretty
Yep.
big. And Radio City is over 5,000. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what Chicago Theater is. But like I said, it's a special event.
Yeah.
So the crowd is really into it, really into it. And to me, for my job, that's what makes the sound of the show is the audience, how the audience relates to Dave and the music act and putting it all together. So
Yep.
yes, the special events, the crowds were amazing. It was like you almost didn't have to do anything because they just mixed themselves. They were just at a level that they sounded so thrilled to be there.
Yeah. I mean, it was like that. That show, it was lightning in a bottle. And
It was
and
a lot of
and
fun also.
yeah, well, there you go. Like, yeah. And I mean, I want to hear any other stories you have about that because I mean, people talk about their formative years, and how many people who worked for that show said the sentiment that you've said earlier. I mean, dozens of people have said to me, those were the happiest days of my life. Obviously decisions got to be made. People decide to have families or different career choices with spouses and things like that, and life happens and so for people who have been kind of where life happened and they floated away 10, 15, 20 years later will still say those were the happiest times of my life.
I
The
I I still say that to anybody that cares. Yes, they were, and shows always come to an end, whether they're on the air for 2 years or 10 years or 20. Shows end, and you go on to your next project.
Yeah. Was your
So
next
for me,
project
that was the thing to do.
and was it late night with Conan O'Brien? Did you move over to Conan after that?
I did not move over. I eventually got to they what they did is they changed the entire crew or most of the crew for whatever reason. It
Yep.
happens. It took a little while, but I got to be the fill-in mixer on Conan. So
Oh,
I did a
interesting.
number, yeah, I did a number of the Conan shows when the regular audio mixer was not there. So that was fine. I was perfectly happy with that.
Okay.
That was a lot of
um
fun.
yeah, sure. Of course. And I mean,
Very similar, very similar. I remember the first time I did it, I said, okay, Conan is Dave, Max is Paul, audience is the same. It was a certain similarity between the two shows.
was the vibe the same?
As far as
Well,
what?
the inmates running the asylum, like the one thing about
Yeah,
Conan, the silly seemed to translate very, very, very well.
yeah,
The late
yeah.
night silly for Dave is the late
Yes,
night silly for Conan. Yeah, it
yes,
was.
yes. Yeah, I would say so. That's a good question. But yeah, I would say it was the same idea. To me, it felt, like I said, very similar that Conan is Dave, Max
Yeah.
is Paul, the audience is the audience. So it's going to be just like that. And yeah, it was the same thing. The writers running around coming up with these wacky ideas.
Yep. People
Yeah,
in
also
costumes, the whole
enjoyed.
nine yards. Yeah.
I also enjoyed doing that show. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Was there, because when you were working, okay, so when you were in your heyday for late night, was that your beginning, middle, end of the day, or did they have you working on other projects that other broadcasts that NBC had
No,
going
that
as
was the
well?
day. We would come in 11-ish and be out by 6:30, 6:45. That was the day. 4 days a week.
By 6:45 you're out. Like that's great hours too. Like
We
you had the show itself, and then you had great hours within the show. Like you really did have a sweet spot.
They were good hours. There was no fixes. Like I said, we didn't multi-track everything to sit in an edit session for a couple of hours afterwards. We didn't do that.
Those
Didn't
are the guys I'm
exist.
thinking of. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
now they probably do, or all the shows do. They probably fix whatever needs to be fixed. But back then, you were done at 6:30, 6:40, you were out the door.
Wow.
Good or bad, you were done.
Good or bad? Well, that's the thing. It's the box of Kleenex, right? Like there's always another show.
Right. There's always tomorrow. Hal
There,
used to come by every night to every person, good or bad. He'd say, "Thank you very much. Thank you." He might say, "What happened?" "Well, this happened, that happened." "Okay, thank you." But every night without fail, he'd go to everybody on the crew and say, "Thank you."
but that being said, he does that, and then is Hal moving over immediately to the post-mortem? Is that like, because he would have been part of that, I would think, where they talk about all of that. Goes around, talks to the crew, whatever, finds out everything, and then goes to the post-mortem, I would assume, right?
You know what? If they did, it was upstairs,
Yep.
away from the studio. So
Yep.
honestly, I have no idea what went on.
After that. Uh, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Because I mean, you think when you're the director, and especially if there are technical problems or whatever, the buck is going to stop with that person
Right. They
anyway.
come to you. Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. Um, oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing that Hal would do that. I
Yes, that
I
was very,
love
very
that.
nice. Did he go upstairs to a postmortem? I don't know because
Yeah,
everything was discussed upstairs. If
yeah.
Dave was unhappy or if something didn't work, they did not do that in front of anybody in the studio. They would take it upstairs to their offices and then do whatever. Nobody, whatever happened, nobody knows, which is the right thing to do because you don't
Isn't
want to
that a
do it in
lovely
front of
sentiment that
everybody.
it's yeah, because it rolls downhill, right? It gets bigger and it rolls
Right.
downhill. And isn't it nice to hear that no, it kind of stopped there at that point. And if there's something to be said the next day, it can be said, civilly and all of that sort of
Right.
stuff.
And if it's something that needed to be addressed, they would address it the next morning, first thing in the
Yeah.
morning, and say, all right, we need to do this, we need to do that, whatever it is. But I assume they took their issues and problems up to the office and discussed it up there. So
Yeah.
I
No,
wasn't, oh, no, nobody in the studio was aware of anything that went on.
who are some of the other department heads or producers and whatnot that you worked with? Like, did you work with Morty very much? Did you work with Shecky at all? Did you work with any of
Oh
these
yeah,
other
worked. Yeah, well, Shecky, Morty. Morty was I think he was the head writer wasn't he a head writer?
head segment producer, perhaps? Rob Burnett was a head writer for a while. Steve O'Donnell was a head writer.
Rob Burnett was an intern when I started on the
Oh
show.
gosh, he was still an intern back then. Okay, so yeah, yeah, Morty might have been.
we got, they were very generous with the swag,
Yep,
but I did have to purchase my yellow late night varsity jacket.
you purchased it.
I had
Did
to
you go?
purchase and
Yep,
sign up with intern Rob Burnett. I remember that.
with wow, wow. So you saw Rob's entire evolution, and I mean, you look at a guy like that. He's got a feature coming out here pretty quick, and just a titan in the Letterman universe. And you saw
Where
him
is he
back then as
now?
an
By
intern.
the way, where is he now? I haven't heard his name mentioned in a while.
He just directed a feature that's coming out. I don't know exactly when it is, and I don't want to spoil anything if I'm not supposed to say it, but that's out there that he just finished a feature right now, and I think
Oh,
they're editing, they're in post. I think
oh,
it
good.
might even be done now. So yeah, he's doing real well, and and so's Morty. Actually, I just talked to Morty the other day.
Oh, did you? I know Morty's
Yeah,
doing well in L.A.
he is. He's doing
selling
great.
selling
I'm bugging him to
homes.
write a book, and I'm pestering him and pestering him, pestering him. He showed me this list once. We did breakfast a couple years ago, and it's like he's got 30 just keywords, and every single keyword is an amazing show business story or story of New York, old New York, whatever it is. And you look at them all, and all of those stories would be a book. And so I'm bugging him right now, trying to get him to
He's got stories. And
Oh yeah, he's got
if you look in his phone book, you'd see some big
that's for
time
sure.
names. Yeah, he would
That
be one that has plenty of stories.
Well, it's funny, and when we talked about it, one of the things it wasn't so much I want to tell all these stories about show business. It was I want to talk about New York, and he has this love affair of New York back then. You know, the way that it's mystical to me living in Western Canada, I always wanted to go to New York. New York just was this not just romantic, but this mystical place. And Morty felt that way in real time living there back then. And that's one of the things that we talk about is just how much he loved that. And you think about it, like you were a part of the epicenter of what many would say was the coolest thing that was in New York at the time, and you were part of it. And the question that I love to ask the late night alum, especially, is: did you know it? Did you know real time what you were a part of while you were there, or was it only reflection afterwards to realize, holy cow, I was part of that?
I think it was afterwards. At the time,
Yeah.
it was just a job. I'm going to
Yeah.
work. This is my job. Um, but that show at that time was the show that they would talk about the next day. Did you see Letterman last night? You see what he did with the thing? I don't know if shows do that anymore.
That's that water cooler effect, right? That's
That's what
that.
they call it, the water cooler. I remember I was single at the time, being in a
Yeah.
bar, and they had the late night on TV, and I was with some people at the bar, and I said, "Oh, watch what's going to happen now. The thing is going to happen." And sure enough, the thing was happening. They said, "How did you know that?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm there every day. I work on the show." So
Well, it's
I felt, for 2 seconds, I felt like important.
Yeah, no, that's the dream. Because I was the guy, in high school where our water cooler was the other guy who's walking past you, where you both are in the secret club of knowing what late night with David Letterman is. And as you're walking by each other going to the next class, did you see that moment last night when that, yeah, oh my God. And you
Right,
just, that was that electricity that was there. And that
right.
so many of us still carry to this day, more so, I think, for the productions of David Letterman than any other show ever. I just think it's the first late night show that had a cult following, and it became a cult like show. And,
Yes,
and and it's still that way to this day. I don't. And again, no offense to Mr. Leno or some of these other people that are out there, but there is no, groups of people that are like trying to keep that stuff alive the way
right.
that there is for Dave's crew. And I think also just the people that he inspired. We talk about Conan, but you look at all of the different broadcasters, performers, hosts that are out there, all of whom have been influenced by what you guys. It wasn't just Dave; it was what you guys did, because the tone of the show, every department was a character.
That's
Even
right.
the sound department, like you weren't the
Yes.
sound effect guy, right?
No, I wasn't. But yes, the breaking glass or whatever else he did. Bruce, yes, he was great.
Yeah, with Bruce, the game show Ding or X, or yeah, like you say, the Breaking Glass, or all of that sort of stuff. Every department of that show was a character, and I don't know that we've ever seen that. Even since then, I don't know if we've seen it the way that you guys did it. But again, yeah, that's the question. It's real time. Do you understand how different the show is at that point?
Hmm.
You know?
I think what we did is we just went to work and did what we had to do that day. That's it. I don't think we really thought about. We thought this is funny. This is
Yeah.
really funny stuff. But that's it. Like I said, we come to work and it's just your job. Some of the guys would work on late night, some of them would work on nightly news. It's just an assignment, and it's just where you go for that day. I mean, I was lucky enough to have it full time for 8 years, just under 8 years. But it was just a job, enjoyable job, but just a job. At the time we didn't think that 33 years later we'd
Mhm.
still be talking about that show.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm a big music guy, huge music guy. You mentioned Sonny and Cher earlier. Any other musical moments? Are you a music guy? Do you like you're an audio guy, but do you enjoy music?
I used to play drums 100 years ago. But
Really,
yeah, I still have an interest. I don't play, but I still have an interest in it. Oh yeah,
Dave?
we had big. I can't remember. Well, like I said, the all-star bands from the
Yep,
specials, that was big. I remember,
yep.
like you said, Bob Dylan and Carole King did the 8th or the 6th. One of them at Radio City, Carole King,
Yeah.
Billy Joel, Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
I can't remember, but
but like on a
big names.
and that's crazy because like on a day-to-day basis, you would have sometimes some of the biggest artists in the world who come in to literally jam with Paul and the band, and they're coming in, you know,
Yeah,
and
any musical act that when they were in 6A,
yep,
I don't know if it was a rule or a contract, I don't know, but they would really play with Paul and the band. Very rarely, if ever, did they bring their entire band. I
yeah.
don't know where that came from.
So when you're plugging in a variable every single day, does that even get predictable? Like even though it's somebody who's out who doesn't necessarily understand the vibe of what goes on every single day with Paul and the band, you know, they're different. They're a different variable gets added to it. Did even that get tight as a drum, or was it different for every person? Because obviously everybody's got a different vocal range, everybody's got a different, you know.
Yeah, well, a little of each.
Yeah.
You know, most part of it, it's every day. This is what we do. We have you know, a band or musician coming in, and he has these number of inputs, a guitar, and he brings a guitar with him, for example.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it got to be a routine after a while,
Hmm.
and things went smoothly for the most part. I
Right.
remember
Uh,
there was one time, I
yep.
can't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was. There was only one time that they had to stop because the artist pulled the power off his amplifier. An
Somebody
electric
literally kicked
guitar
the
doesn't
cord
make
out.
any
Yep.
noise without an amplifier. I can't
Yep.
remember who it was.
You got to
So
restart.
obviously you have no choice but to stop and do it. But that's the only time that I could think of that they actually had to stop and start over again. And
Well, it's
I
funny you
can't
talk
remember
about
who it is. I
you,
just
you
can't
talk
remember
about
who
live
it
at
is.
five, right? And that's a high that's you're no net there. You're live. That's just it.
Yeah.
Um, but you move over to Dave, and they loved to film it like it was live. Like they
Oh
didn't
yeah.
like to stop tape ever, right?
Ever. Like I said, there was the one time, and I can't remember who it was, that he pulled the power cord off his amplifier. Um, that's like it. That's the only time that I could think of that they had to stop and do something over again. They started right on time, 5:30,
Yep.
30.
Yep.
They never said, you know, hold for 10 minutes. A lot of the other shows that are taped, they'll say hold for 10 minutes when they go off and do stuff. This show, like I said, 5:30, 30, they would record in real time.
Yep.
Um, a lot of times they would go late and he would apologize and bump a guest instead of editing. Well, I guess they had to edit some. I don't really know.
Yep.
Uh, Often the guest would be bumped. He'd say, you know, I'm sorry to so and so. We ran out of time. We'll have them back another time. But it was pretty much real time every night, real
Yeah,
to
like
time.
don't get me wrong. I understand the power of an edit. I understand the power of what can be done in post, but the feeling, the momentum that you're talking about, like hold for 10. I'm sorry. No. So what are we going to do? Get a warm-up guy out to keep the audience
Oh, no. And
lively,
then
all
you
that
got
sort
a
of.
warm-up guy dying out there who's trying to keep the audience awake. And you're just waiting 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No, every night, right on time, 5:30, 30. I don't know why it was 5:30, 30, but that was the time they taped. Everything was timed out to the second when Dave would
Yeah.
come out and say hello. It was literally 90 seconds, as if that was live too. Every night, 90 seconds before 5:30, 30, he would walk out, say hello, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
They'd say 30 seconds and they'd count them down as if it was live, which is great because I would
Absolutely.
much rather do live.
No question, and I'm certain that and I'm glad to hear you say it because you've got the experience with like real live and then also the feeling that they were translating. I think like you know a lot of these things looking back on what made late night great was things like what you're talking about here, where okay, you know we want to have that feeling of live. It's going to be like it's a character in the show.
That's
It's a
right.
momentum. It's a feeling you can't really explain it. It's not super tangible, but you know when the intensity is there, like, no, 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 we're live. There's a different, everybody elevates to a different place, I think.
Well, yeah, because if you say, all right, hold 10 minutes, or if you say, okay, stop, everybody, we're going to do something, it takes the spontaneity out of it. And they
Yeah.
didn't want that. They wanted to keep it, like you said, as if it was live. which is
Yes.
great. And it's good for everybody, not just for Dave or the band, but for everybody to get that
Yes.
mentality of this is live. We're doing it live. Okay. So I
Uh,
prefer that.
yeah, well, again, like from a viewer standpoint, I think it translates. I'm certain it translates. It just feels higher stakes, if that
I
makes
think
any
so.
sense. Higher stakes to a completely goofy show. You know, higher stakes for something that doesn't matter, but it does matter, and it did matter, and it certainly moved the needle. It changed things in so many ways. You obviously the CDs that you have, that's unbelievable. Oh my goodness, that you have those. Did you keep any other souvenirs from the show?
No, not really. I remember when the show went away, it went away. It was a Friday night, and I came into work early Saturday morning, and the first thing I did is I went into 6A. I thought I could find something. The place was stripped down to the walls. First thing Saturday morning. I mean, they literally wanted everything out of there. I would have
Wow.
taken something, maybe one of Kathleen's set pieces or something to have. But when I came in the next morning, there was nothing there. It was stripped.
You mentioned Kathleen's name. Let's talk about Kathleen Anchors for a second. Did you have very much time with her? She was a very, very special person from everyone I've talked to who knows her.
Right. She designed the late night set. She did
Yep.
the Rosie O'Donnell set, I believe. And
Yep.
I guess she did the late show set.
Yeah, this is one of her bridges.
Oh,
That's
see,
something that
yeah,
she
see something
that's one
like
of them.
that. I
Yep.
would have loved to have something like that from 6A. I didn't realize that first thing in the morning the next day it would be gone.
Wow. And you were there for the rap party?
Oh yeah, yes. Yes, that was the one
When
in
did you get told Springsteen was the guy? Do you remember that? And that was a
I
well-kept
think
secret.
I think most of the times we didn't know who was on the show till that morning anyway.
Right.
So I don't think it was announced early
It
that he was going to be on.
No, it wasn't. He was the surprise.
Yeah.
And so, if there's anybody who's going to be brought in, to that circle of trust early, it's going to be the audio guy. So I would assume that you probably knew that before anybody. I
Mm,
don't. I
I
would
don't
think.
I don't recall. Honestly, I don't recall. But most for the most part, we didn't really know what was going on until that morning.
Gotcha.
As far as Bruce Springsteen that day, I don't recall. I don't remember. I've watched the show back. I thought, oh, this is very good. He was a big draw as he is today.
Yeah, that last show on late night. I don't know if you can get closer to a perfect show. It captured everything from summing up the tone of what had been built so far to giving highlights as to what the new tone was going to be as Dave elevated and moved into more of that, that 11:30 vibe that we talked about. Like he felt bigger than the show at that point. The show, it had elevated to this point where it was like it has to evolve into something else. And I think the last show did a the last late night, I should say, did a very, very good job of capturing all of those feelings and putting them into one aimed broadcast. And I mean, Bruce Springsteen coming out. I don't know if there's anybody better to sum up something like that and to sing Glory Days. What a fitting tribute on everything. And on that show, I mean, you guys always fired on everything. You celebrated failure, all of that. The whole thing is you guys had a phenomenal crew and mostly didn't fail. It was so good. But on that last show, it felt like everybody just elevated it that much higher. It was such a beautiful, magical moment.
Fortunately, Will wasn't there. I think he was off
No,
working somewhere.
he was in Japan. I believe he was in Japan.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately for that. But yeah, no, it was great. Like I said, it was a highlight of my years, and it's great to talk about it. And I enjoyed it.
Do you keep in
if
contact
it
with Will?
no, I saw
Oh,
him
he's
when we went over to the theater about 2 weeks before the Late Show ended.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Me and a couple of guys that worked in 6A, we took a walk over to the theater to see whoever, to kind of say goodbye, hello and goodbye to the remaining people. Most of the staff wasn't even born when we were in 6A, right? Because that
Oh,
was 30 somewhat years ago.
yeah.
But it was fun to go over there and see the people that I did know. So I saw Will and Sid and Biff and Paul and all those people.
Will's well, you've watched what we do. He's a friend of the show here. Will and I are buds, and I can't wait to get out to New York and see him play at the bitter end again. And the last time I came out, he and Paul were doing something with Osnoy and something at the bitter end, and they still do play that kind of stuff. I just, it's really cool to see that so many people are still hanging out. Are you still tight with anybody that you worked with back then?
You want to know something? I'm the only person, and I've been out for 1 year. I'm the only person that was still there. Most everybody else is either retired or passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I did see Paul about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
I ran into him. I had to kind of reintroduce myself to him
Sure.
because, I got
Of course.
a little grayer in 30 something years. And he's like, "Oh yeah, So he was very, very nice. Very nice. I haven't seen Dave. I ran into him once when he was on Conan in the very beginning. He was
You were
a
there the night
guest on
Dave came back.
he was on Conan's show as a guest in the very beginning of Conan.
Yeah.
So I
Steve, that
saw him
is
in the
like
hall. I went up to him and said hello. That's
uh,
really it.
th-
Everybody went on their separate ways.
that's phenomenal because you talk about how you filled in on Conan from then, but you weren't the guy. The
I
fact that you
wasn't,
were
no.
there the night Dave came back, that is a historic night. Like there are many people out there, Conan himself, who say that Conan O'Brien's fortunes changed that night. Everybody was thinking he was DOA. That show was going to be canceled. You
I
got back
know.
to the week to week. I'm sure the crew would be talking about it. And the night that Dave showed up, the night you're talking about, that is so cool that you got to be there for that because that night in particular is credited as the night that turned things around for Conan.
Yeah. There was another day that he was on late night, not Seth Meyers show,
Yep.
that Dave was a guest.
Yep.
I was doing something else, I think, in the early morning, so I wasn't in the area to stop by. I would have liked to have said hello, but that day I was doing completely different hours, so I wasn't around. I did run into Anton. Anton once when Seth Meyers had a band a few years ago, they
Yep.
had guest drummers week.
Yep.
And I was in the building and I said hello to Anton. He was again very, very nice. And he
Yeah.
was
Oh,
doing a
he's a
guest
gem.
a guest shot on Seth.
Those guys, I mean, they're what we call in Canada a beauty. Anton's a beauty. He's a great guy, great stories, great history, just so personable and so kind. That's the other thing. That's the other thing about that crew. Um, Very few unkind people. A lot of kindness in that crew. Just the vibe there. A lot of people just really, really happy and wanting other people to feel good to win. Just a lot of kindness on that crew.
I think so. I think so. Like I said, everybody in the control room on the floor, everybody was very, very nice. I mean, they had a job to do, and there was a higher hierarchy. The
Sure.
guy on the top has more power than the guy below you, but
Mhm.
that's okay. But overall, everybody was very nice and really a pleasure to work with. I
Did
enjoyed it.
any Christmas party memories?
We had Christmas parties. Yes, we had at the skating rink. We did that once. We did something downtown once. I don't remember where it was. They were very generous with the parties.
Yeah,
They were
I've
generous
heard a
with the
lot of very
parties.
fun
Yeah.
Christmas party stories. Uh, when you worked for the show, obviously the other gift that many of the late night alumni got that the late show alumni didn't get as much was actual like FaceTime with Dave. Like a lot of there are people at late show near the end of the run. They worked there for a couple of years and they'd only seen him once or twice. Kind of in the flesh. Not the case though for the late night crew. You guys would
No,
have
he
seen him a
was
lot more.
no. When we worked with him, he was quite approachable.
Yeah.
Whether it was in the hall or there was more than a couple of times that me and a friend of mine just went up to his office. Hey, knock on the door. Hey, you got a second? Yeah. Hey, what's up? Different. It was just different. It was
Yep.
just different. Yes, I heard the same thing where people who worked on the Late Show for years and years said, I never even met the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
But when we were with him in 6A, he was quite approachable. I
he
had
was
two
there.
kids, and he sent over, roses, and he was very approachable, different,
I
almost
love.
like a different person. Again, the stress level was much less in
Yep.
in late night, right? Um,
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
So
you
he
know,
might have changed a little bit, but he
I,
had his pressure.
I would say that, yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily say the stress was less, because when you look at the turnaround time of you know, the late shift and when it happened, I mean, the idea of, is he going to stay, is he going to leave, all of this sort of stuff, like when that was happening, that was a different type of pressure. But it's funny you talk about like the broadcast crew. I, a huge number of people who love this show are in the broadcasting profession. They're an audio guy, they're a camera guy, they're a mixer, they're a news director. A lot of people, for whatever, a lot of people who love broadcasting and love being part of a crew, a lot of broadcasting crews love the show that you guys put on. And I think it was because they made you guys, they made part of the crew characters in the show. And you could tell Dave was a pure broadcaster. And I think he liked talking to people who liked being part of the technical part of the show, because that's what he did back in the
I
day,
think
back in
so.
Indiana.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the same thing. I do. Yeah. And they enjoyed it. It was a thrill to them. Imagine, coming to work and part of your job was being part of the show, right?
Yeah,
That's not that most people don't have that in their job.
absolutely. Yeah, like Biff is the most famous stage
Well,
manager the
Biff,
world has
yeah.
ever seen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Biff did quite well.
Um, I can't thank you enough for being willing to open up here and to tell me some of these things, Steve. It's really special. I appreciate it so much.
Well,
Um,
I'm glad to do it. I think it's great that, like I said, 33 years after the show left, people
yeah,
still have an interest in it.
I do, and not just an interest, but like I got a 7-year-old granddaughter who's like my everything, and I've been waiting with bated breath to make sure she likes what you guys did. You know, when I show her footage of the steamroller rolling over things or throwing things off the tower or some of the things that you guys did, she laughs her little butt off, and it just it delights me that it translates still after all of these years to somebody who is, and you know, it shows that humor is something that it can traverse time. It really, really can. And certainly what you guys did does that. If you're entertaining people even to this day, it sure shows what you guys did and how important it was. And it was really important to me and many other people. What you guys did was important. And it's so nice to be able to say that to you and to say thank you very much for doing the job that you did, or even screwing up the time that you did that led to this moment, whatever that was. Like,
Yeah, my
really, really
mistakes got a
grateful.
big laugh.
There you go. That's right. That's right. But it's a pleasure to be able to even thank you for that, Steve. I'm so grateful. And
I I think it's great that like I said, you and your viewers still maintain an interest in that show all these years later. That's great.
yeah, well, we
All
do.
right. If I can answer anything else for you, please, you can contact me anytime.
Oh yeah, and I appreciate that as well. And well, here's a question for you. Do you still have a CD burner? Sorry, we'll talk about that off camera. We'll talk about that off camera. I just thank you so much for taking time today. Oh, by the way, as the time that we're recording this, it's going to come out a few weeks later or whatever. The time we're recording it, you okay? Are you up to your armpits in snow? Is it still how bad
It's
is it out there right now?
bitter cold. It's about 11 degrees outside.
Oh,
And last week's snow is going to be around for a while because it's not supposed to warm up in any time soon.
that's the first time New York can say that in a few years now.
In a
It's
few
like the
years,
old
probably
days.
4 or 5 years. Yeah.
It's like the old
Yeah, but
days.
we'll get through it. We'll get
Oh
through it.
yeah, always.
I have the furnace going. You may hear it. I have the furnace going. So it's fine. You're in
You're
Canada,
all
you're
right.
used to it.
Oh, oh yeah, I'm used to it. I'm like, hey, yeah, welcome to our world. I can't thank you enough today so much, Steve. Thank you. This has been another episode of the Letterman podcast with Mike Chisholm. Coincidentally, I am Mike Chisholm. That's Steve Singer. Thank you and good night.
Let the fun end.
They don't talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't talk to them. Bang, zoom.
All right.